Base proper. Let's go back over to Corey Inman. Tornado warning continues. Rotation still there. Eric Dixon's got 100-mile-an-hour straight winds coming in from the north, crossing 62 on the east side of Altus. This is a really ferocious supercell down here. Go, Corey.
Yeah, Mike, still sitting here just northeast of Hedrick, about a quarter of a mile south of 62. That's Hedrick that you see there in the shot. And after I talked to Aaron there, that lowering just kind of broadened out, and it cycled again, and you can see we're starting to get a little bit blockier wall cloud there again on the left side of the screen. So this thing's just inching along. There's still quite a bit of rotation in there. There's just a tremendous amount of rain and hail and cloud-to-ground lightning due west of me between Hedrick and Altus. So right now, don't see a funnel in there, but there's a lot of rotation, and every once in a while we get a finger that sticks out there. So just kind of keeping an eye on that one little area there just to the south of Hedrick, Mike.
So, Corey, you're just south of 62. What's your wind doing? Eric's got winds of 100 coming from north to south up on 62. What's your wind doing?
Yeah, my wind's out of the east-northeast at about 10. It's blowing right back into that area of circulation, that wall cloud. When Eric was mentioning the 100-mile-an-hour winds, we took an east wind at about 50 to 60, and just to the northeast of Hedrick. So could have been an indication, that the rotation was ramping up back to our southwest there, as he was taking the north wind and we were taking the east-northeast winds. So,
yeah, look at all the powerful winds in this. Let's go back to Eric Dixon. So, Eric, there's giant hail just west of Altus Air Force Base, just north of 62. You're on 62 right now. Clearly, the wind is blowing from left to right, which will be a north to south wind because you're facing eastbound, and the winds are still very strong where you are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've probably got about 100-mile-an-hour winds right here. I've turned my truck a little bit kind of into it, trying to, keep my truck stable there so it doesn't try to flip the truck, because winds like this could easily, flip a vehicle, if you get in the wrong situation there. But it's definitely like an inflow wind. Looks like the circulation is just to our south. I would put it, probably 4 or 5 miles to the south of me right now. So I'm approximately about 5 miles to the east of Altus right now. But my truck is just rocking back and forth here. I'm just sitting here stable, just trying to let this wind get out of here so I can progress a little bit east with this. But it's a tremendous high-velocity wind. I wouldn't doubt if there's going to be a lot of damage in this area to the power structure and some roofs just from the high-velocity winds. Back to you.
Okay, so if you're just now joining us here, we got a couple of severe storms in southwest Oklahoma. We had a tornado, a really big one, multi-vortex tornado on the ground, large, wide, for about 45 minutes down in Jackson County to the west of Olustee. There it is right there. I'll step out of the screen so you can see the contrast more clearly. It's right in the middle of your screen, very large. Kind of a big barrel shape, like a big 55-gallon drum, if you will. And it's been multi-vortex, and it was a powerful tornado. Tracked out of eastern Harmon County and went into Jackson County to the west of Olustee and to the south of Duke. Crossed Highway 34, and now it's moving a little bit more toward the right-hand part of your screen. Still large. That was earlier, right around 7:35. Say that again.
Power poles broken in Jackson, Oklahoma. Reports of that. And then west of Altus, there are power lines down, power poles down.
So some of an example of the high wind going on with that supercell. Power poles down, power lines down, and there's just really big hail. Eric Dixon's got 100-mile-an-hour winds coming in from the north on the eastern side of Altus. So this is now going back to live right here. You're looking at the lower left-hand part of your screen. That's Corey Inman. Let's go back over to Max 1. Look at the Doppler velocities here and 2 supercells down here. Again, there's Anadarko, Chickasha back up here. So this is quite a ways to the southwest. And again, many models say that it does not rain tonight, at least not until maybe the cold front approaches toward daybreak. So these don't race out of southwest Oklahoma. They just hang out down here. And that's pretty much what's happening. And these should weaken in the next hour to hour and a half as the cap or lid starts to re-strengthen. But in the meantime, we have an ongoing tornado warning east of Altus and to the west of Tipton and near Hedrick and toward Friendship and Altus Air Force Base. There's a lowering here, 100-mile-an-hour winds coming in from the north, powerful winds. Eric Dixon, power poles down, power lines down, and there's some golf ball, baseball, even some softball size hail. There's the debris detector. There goes the tornado a while ago. It's been gone for quite some time now as it was lifting up there to the east of Duke and to the west of Altus. And here's a little broader view. Flooding rainfall, flash flood warnings down here. So these are extremely powerful supercells. Here's the velocity. The green is the high velocity winds coming in from the north that Eric Dixon's in. There's high winds now at Altus Air Force Base, along with some really big hail, and that could be a very damaging hailstorm for the areas near Altus Air Force Base. Let's go back to Corey Inman. Don't see an immediate sign, Corey, of a tornado down there. Looks like that outflow might be possibly impacting that mesocyclone and keeping it from spinning up.
Yeah, we were just looking at that on velocities, Mike. Kind of look like maybe starting to get a little bit of a bow feature right over 62 back to our west. The area of rotation that we were watching as we come through the trees here, you'll be able to see it kind of broadened out again. Didn't really have that one centralized area like we had a few minutes ago. Really just kind of flattened out. We still a little ragged, but didn't have that big blocky type wall cloud that had the centralized area of rotation. So we're 4 miles east of Hedrick, and the camera's pointed back to the southwest. You can kind of see it there around the mountain there. It just kind of flattened out and not really doing much right now. Not really doing much of anything. So we're gonna slide south just a bit and stay in front of it and try to stay out of these high winds that are coming down 62, Mike.
So, Corey, can you see a big gust front back to your west on 62 kind of trying to race out towards you?
Actually, Mike, I've got a feeder cloud that's, I'll pan the camera here. I've got a little feeder cloud that's kind of feeding in there from southeast to northwest, and it's kind of going right back into the rain, which is right in that little area that we were talking about where it looked like we might have the little bow feature there right over 62. So that may be exactly what's trying to happen, trying to gust out and bow out as it comes to the east of Altus right down 62.
Okay, let's go back over to Max 1, kind of show you radar and everything. So a lot of hail, a lot of high winds. I mean, Altus and Altus Air Force Base, very high-end supercell right here. Not even mentioning any tornado possibility, but a very high-end supercell with some giant hail, winds of 100 miles an hour. Power poles down, power lines are down, and there may be some pretty extensive wind damage. And there's a big gust front here. That bright green, that's that wind of 100 that Eric Dixon's been up in on Highway 62. And there's a big gust front racing out from that. The twisting of the wind is not really there, but there's a gust front forming coming out right here, coming out eastward on 62 near Hedrick. And Corey Inman was 3 miles east of Hedrick just a moment ago, looking back to the west. But these are high velocity winds that came right through the Altus Air Force Base area, along with some really big hail and lots of flooding rainfall. A big hailstorm now at Duke coming back into the West Altus Air Force Base and Altus area as well. But that's baseballs right there, and earlier showing close to softball size hail. Let's check back with Eric Dixon. He's right there in the middle of that, east side of Altus. Eric?
Yeah, I'm trying to progress a little bit east with it. I don't want baseball size hail flying at 100 miles an hour at me. So we got a little dicey situation out here west Altus here. I'm probably about 2 or 4 miles to the west of Altus here, but I wouldn't doubt if there's going to be some damage in the Altus area from the hail and the high velocity winds here. But perhaps it looks like this storm may be trying to gust out, so that may be the trend here. I'm still taking at least probably 80 to 100 mile an hour winds. I'm just kind of going east with it here, just trying to kind of stay out of that hail core here. But it's really intense down here. If you don't really want to get caught in a storm quite like this, if you're not an experienced person to be driving in a weather like this, it's quite scary out here. Back to you.
Okay, Eric, I'm taking over here for a second, and you are right. That is very dangerous. You never want to be in the middle of the storm. That's why we leave it to our professional storm trackers. And 100-mile-per-hour winds, no joke. It's terrifying when it slams your car. I've been there before. We're glad you're all right. Let's go ahead and take a wider view. So if you're just tuning in right now, earlier we thought in the day that there was a chance for the metro this evening, and that was based off of previous data. Things adjust throughout the day and the night. Today was a tricky forecast, mainly because of a warm front in place. Also, we had that brief severe storm that happened in the metro late afternoon, and that was actually a good thing. What's happening right now is this is a very unfavorable storm environment building into parts of central Oklahoma, so that's certainly helping out. I think that's video from earlier of it, yes. So that's building in a less favorable storm environment, and that's part of the reason why these storms are struggling to move east. They've been almost stationary a few times in southwestern Oklahoma, and we haven't been talking about it much, but in addition to the multi-vortex tornado that happened earlier causing damage, there's a flooding risk, and like Mike was talking about, huge hail. Huge hail. So let's go ahead and zoom on into the latest in southwestern Oklahoma. We still are under a tornado watch until 11 p.m. There is a tornado warning with this storm that's moving off to the east. At this point, it doesn't look like a tornado is imminent, but it can evolve quickly. We are seeing, though, powerful straight line winds up to 100 miles per hour out of this storm. In addition to that, still the potential of very large hail. There's also a big hail core pulsing up over Duke, and Duke was slammed earlier with a strong storm. So here's the latest near Altus. We continue to track. The worst of it, Altus, has passed you. However, I want to point out that hail core over Duke, the current track will take it back into the Altus area. So you may get walloped again. Not done quite yet. Here's a look at Duke storm. There's the hail core just north of the town of Duke, and that is moving more off to the east-southeast. Switching over to velocity, these bright green pixels, that represents the highest winds that are surging out right now into Hedrick. Actually, the highest winds will be just north of Hedrick, just north of Highway 62, and that continues to move east. Right now, let's go out to Corey Inman, who's also been in this area. And Corey, we're watching these high winds, not seeing that imminent tornado threat right now, but still 80, 90, even 100 mile per hour winds that'll do damage.
Yeah, Emily, I'm 5 miles southeast of Hedrick. Right now, I've got the camera pointed back to the southwest. That area of rotation that we've been watching is just completely, that base is completely flat. Not seeing any signs of rotation in there. So, like we were talking about, you know, that thing starting to bow out and maybe gust out just to the north of Hedrick. So, we're riding the south end of it, trying to get over here to the highway, and then we'll have to blast back north to 62. But you were talking about the power lines down on the west side of Altus, and that would kind of coincide with what we saw when we were on the west side of Altus and had the power flashes, possibly when that tornado crossed 62 west of Altus. So that would kind of be in that general direction. But right now we're right here ahead of it, Emily. Haven't encountered the winds like Eric's had back in the Altus area, just trying to stay ahead of it as it slides to the east. Back to you.
Okay, thanks for that. And looking at the velocity here, this is surging east. If it actually continues its current track off to the east, it could be eventually heading towards Mountain Park. So something we'll be watching. What we're also watching is oftentimes when you have a line segment that starts winds that start to bow out, we look to the northern part of the line for any brief circulations. And if that were to happen, it would be south of the town of Centerville. So that's something we're watching as it progresses off to the east. Zooming in a little bit closer, look at those high winds. So that's north of Hedrick pushing off to the east. And we were mentioning the damage report. So west of Altus, some down power lines. We have that new circulation pulse up. In addition to that, you can see this loop. That's up to softball size hail, at least baseball size hail that moved through Altus and progressed to the north and east just south of the town of Friendship. That hail core is kind of broadened out at this point, and then to the southwest you can see south of Duke another hail core also pulsing up. That's closer to about golf ball size, maybe up to tennis ball size hail as well. In addition to that, we have had locally heavy rain, heavy downpours, so that's causing some localized flooding, reports of street flooding in Altus. So we're not done yet. This part of the state walloped. I mean, that multi-vortex tornado that happened earlier was on the ground for 45 minutes. The only saving grace is it was more in the rural part of the country, so that was certainly good news. But we are not out of the woods. We still have a tornado watch for this part of the state. I would say mainly confined to this point to far southwestern Oklahoma. I wouldn't be surprised if it's tapered. And then the main focus for the evening and overnight hours as this moves east, Severe storms still could continue in southern Oklahoma, but I think the intensity will go down because it's a less favorable storm environment. Very low chance now for the Oklahoma City Metro to see storms. So a bit of good news there. You can go to sleep with peace, hopefully knowing that we're not going to have that type of severe weather. We're also keeping a close eye, just giving you a heads up, Saturday for the risk of severe weather. All right, let's continue our team coverage. We have Aaron Brackett, who's also analyzing the latest, and it's been pretty bad here in southwestern Oklahoma.
Yeah, it sure has, and a lot of folks are wondering, why in this part of the state these thunderstorms are just kind of traveling over the same areas again and again and again, and why aren't they, really moving like we've been seeing a little bit earlier on? Why are they just kind of sitting in the same areas? Well, the reason for that is, well, there's quite a bit of instability in southwestern Oklahoma, right here where these thunderstorms are. As you go out to the farther off to the east, there's kind of a big corridor right about here of air that's sinking. So sinking air going down, that would push clouds down. You get sinking air when you get a nice clear day outside. So what we have here in southwest Oklahoma, there's a big, you can kind of draw it right here as we're looking at some of the, we call it mesoanalysis. You can analyze things in real time. This area right here has a lot of air that's moving upward. So when you get upward moving air, that makes the thunderstorms go up. And this little boundary right between the unstable air and the more stable air, whoop, we'll just try the pen again, the more stable air right here. The storms are trying to move east, but they're running into this little block right here. So the farther east they go, they're not going to form more. They're going to kind of wane just a little bit, and they're not going to want to move. So that's why we've had the weather up near Sayre and Elk City and Altus and over toward Hollis that hasn't moved too much. In addition, it's been kind of wrapping over itself. So we had these long-lived tornadoes, and they would just kind of fold over and over and over on themselves again and again. So again, this is really quite a bit of large hail here in southwestern Oklahoma. The hail track is, again, very impressive. There's a couple different hail tracks that we've been watching right here, and they're all kind of going over the same areas again. So again, multiple reports of just very large hail. Altus Air Force Base, which is off to the east side of town and northeast side of town, over toward Blair, Altus Lugert Lake, places like that, seeing quite a bit. And then over right down Highway 62, where a lot of this does continue. Again, the velocity signature, lots of wind kind of punching out, but there's no real tight circulation right here. And boy, is that good. Because earlier when we had that big tornado, you would see the red and the green just really getting tight. Now, as we look at this, there's a couple little notches, little punches of something maybe trying to happen right here near Hedrick. Again, Highway 62, we punch in a little bit closer, and you can see it's kind of a zigzaggy line. It's not just a straight line. So you can see last little loop right here, how it kind of does one of these, little zipper pattern. Sometimes when you talk about line tornadoes, QLCS tornadoes, yes, this is a supercell, but sometimes that's the very beginning of something trying again to spin up as this pushes now again slowly off toward the east, but still lots and lots of straight line wind. Let's go over to Eric Dixon. He's watching this again very closely. You had some incredibly strong winds right in the Altus area, and looks like you're still in the heavy rain and hail. Sunset time out there is 8:40 in Altus, so we're 3 minutes past that. Go ahead, Eric Dixon.
Yeah, this the wind has come down just a tad. I mean, I'm still in some high winds, probably 70-mile-an-hour winds. But at one point, I think it went over 100 there. A few gusts easily could have been well over 100 as this storm's trying to gust out. But it looks like the whole the radar presentation, it looks kind of linear. It's all kind of a straight line. Just kind of watching for any spin-ups. But, as you were talking about, you got to watch for those, line segment type tornadoes that form that QCLS. So, that might be the stage that we're kind of moving into. But I don't see that localized classic rotation that kind of like we had earlier. So maybe transitioning more to that QCLS type tornado event. But I do have, my winds are probably 60, 70 at the moment, so we've came down a little bit, but still high velocity winds out here, east of Altus here on 62. Aaron?
All right, just about 5 or 10 minutes ago, the Mesonet station in Altus, or just a couple miles south of Altus, registered a 67-mile-per-hour wind gust. So the wind is still very much severe level, and you can see blinding rain. It's 3 minutes past sunset, but we know that this time of the year, especially in southwest Oklahoma, you get plenty of light, 9:15, 9:20, and it's absolute darkness where he is right now. So we'll bring it back to Lynx right now to take a look at the overall picture. Again, we'll zoom this in. There's the heaviest of the hail core, Highway 62. Here's Altus, Jackson and Harmon counties getting a lot of activity right now. And we pull this out again. This is really the only deal in town, in the state right now. It's the strongest storm by far. There's just a couple that have faded away up near I-40, but this has been persistent because, again, it's in that area of unstable air in southwestern Oklahoma. So it continues on basically right down Highway 62, severe thunderstorm, a couple little notches right here, one south of Altus, one again a little bit north of Tipton, approaching Snyder and Mountain Park, and where you start to get a little those kind of little mountainous features on 62 on the way into Altus. Again, on the backside of this, another hail core north of Alusty right there. That's going to affect Duke. It's basically right over Duke right now. So again, lots and lots of hail. Let's take a look at the lightning rates here because, again, that's an indication of how strong the storm is. This is all the lightning bolts, 20-minute time period right here. So you can see we've gone from the 500s down to the 400s. It's kind of stair-stepping down slowly. We're optimistic about that coming down just a little bit. But again, we'll take that over here. You can see two distinct storms. The strongest of them is this storm that's off to the east, basically Altus all the way to Snyder. That's how long it measures right there, moving off to the east at about 20, 25 miles per hour. Let's go to Corey Inman. He's watching this very closely too. Corey, go ahead. Corey Inman.
Aaron, I am you got me?
Yeah, go ahead, Corey. We got you. Nice picture.
All right, look at that funnel cloud. This is 183. Hit record. This is 183. And south of 62, I'm just south of Snyder. That is a funnel cloud on the leading edge of that gust front that we've been talking about. This is right, like I'm looking almost right up into this thing, Aaron. It's just on the west side of 183, and I'm just south of the Snyder area. Hang on, give me a second here, and I'll 3 miles south of Snyder on 183, and this thing is maybe 3/4 of a mile to the west of 183.
Corey, we see that right there. We're going to come back to, just give me 15 seconds. I want to show folks where this is, and we're going to come right back, or we can double box this. Look at that funnel cloud right there from Corey Inman. So this is east of the major hail core. This is east of it on Highway 62. And yeah, look at that big dip right there. So we're going to stay with the picture, left-hand side of your screen right here. So you see Snyder, see Mountain Park, and then going south of that, he is 3 miles south of 62, south of Mountain Park. And, you know, the storm is kind of twisting up on itself. Let's go back to Corey here. Definite funnel there.
Yeah, Aaron, that was 3 miles south of Snyder. I'm at the intersection of 183 and 62, and that funnel cloud is just back over my shoulder. I'm going to pan the camera down here and look at the ground. Don't see any type of spin up here. Let me flip over. Let me get to the night vision. Don't see any spin on the ground. That's just, that funnel's just kind of hanging out there, Aaron. Not really moving. There is obviously some rotation to it, but looking right here, you know, maybe a 1/4 of a mile due west of me, I don't have anything on the ground. Of course, you know, if it's spinning up dust or maybe some debris out of the field here, I'm not going to be able to see it as we're starting to get darker here. So it's just right here over the intersection of 183 and 62, Aaron.
Corey, that's just crazy because that's basically on the inflow, the storm scale inflow going into the supercell. I mean, the core is quite a ways back to the west. This thing's hanging way out in front. If this is going to be south of 62 on 183, are you looking to the west? What direction are you looking right there?
I am at the intersection of 183 and 62, and I'm looking due west and almost straight up. This thing is, you know, it's a 1/4 to a 1/2 mile west of the intersection here of 62 and 183.
God, gives you an idea how powerful this storm system is. It's not even related to a mesocyclone. This is on the inflow feeding into the main storm. Let me show you a radar here, and I'll show you what we're talking about. Ongoing funnel. So that's way out here. It's all the way out here. He's 62 and 183. He's all the way out here at Snyder. So this is just on the spinning inflow that's going in to all of that. It's not even a mesocyclone. Let's go back over to his picture. But again, to underscore and headline for you, there's a tremendous amount of flooding. There's a tremendous amount of giant hail. There's a ton of high velocity winds, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. I mean, Jackson County is just getting hammered. And over into the area west of Snyder. And this is like on the storm scale inflow going in to all of that. clearly a funnel cloud right there, kind of tilting more horizontally now, Corey.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of right over 62 now, Mike. So just kind of scanning 62 to see if I have any power flashes to say whether it's in contact with the ground or not, and haven't seen any. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's not. It just not seeing any power flashes or anything back in there, and it's definitely going horizontal, and it's almost trying to rope out there. But that was a pretty decent sized cone funnel there for a few minutes, and still scanning back in there, Mike. Not seeing any power flashes or anything, so it hasn't hit any of the power lines. And of course, if it's spinning up dust, it's going to be hard to see. It's starting to get pretty dark here. So, like you said, this is on the leading edge of the inflow there. Where our inflow winds are about 25 to 30, blowing right into that area of where that funnel cloud was at, Mike.
Man, supercells are really something else. The power in these is amazing to watch. And that is a funnel cloud, still there, more horizontal now than it was. On the inflow, almost separated from the main core itself. Let's go back to Eric Dixon. Eric Dixon's really right in the middle of this storm. It's a dangerous storm with all these winds out there, power's out, and no doubt there is storm scale damage in the Altus area and also Altus Air Force Base. Winds up to 100 between baseball and softballs, and tremendous flooding as well. Eric, you doing okay out there?
Oh, yeah, it's been a rough ride. I'm on 62 right now. I'm just to the northeast of Hedrick. I was looking at that same funnel that Corey had right there when he seen it. I saw it right at the same time. It just kind of poked out of the sky here, but it's kind of where the winds are converging right there with that high velocity wind coming out of the north. We're watching that that funnel in there. I never seen it touch down, but I've got my headlights turned off a little bit so I can try to it won't obscure the vision. Back with whatever light I can grab back in there, with the lightning and stuff to see that funnel. But, there about 3 minutes ago, I had that funnel in pretty good view there. So it definitely was, I could tell it was kind of notching in a little bit there with the green velocity winds there. It was kind of, notching in with that. So we're just going to stay with it and see how it does here as this storm kind of progresses a little bit to the east. Mike?
Okay, so let's go back over to Max 1, and we'll talk about the ongoing watches and warnings that we have. So if you're just now joining us, these are going to stay in southwest Oklahoma, and they're not going to come toward the metro, which is really good news. There may be a chance of storms later tonight and toward tomorrow morning when the cold front approaches from the northwest. But these are going to basically just kind of wind down very slowly from a very high level down in southwest Oklahoma in Jackson County and in Tillman County. So tremendous amount of flooding, 100-mile-an-hour winds, a lot of baseballs, some softballs. These have been high-end supercells and a big multi-vortex tornado on the ground for 45 minutes. Fortunately, in mostly rural countryside down in western Jackson County, rangeland down there to the west of Elmer, to the west of Olustee, and to the south of Duke, came out of Harmon County. But right now the tornado warnings have expired. So you see there's the action. Here's the Anvil blow-off. The high altitude Anvil blow-off blowing over into Arkansas, and a couple of severe storms down in southwest Oklahoma with some high velocity damaging winds continuing. But the tornado warning has now expired, which is really good news. The tornado warning has expired. So southwest of Altus, we've got some damaging wind there. And also east of Altus, damaging winds, again, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour plus, and a lot of big hail. These are slowly pushing eastward, but only very, very slowly. Atmosphere is unfavorable here to the east to have these go too much farther. They will gradually but very slowly weaken from a very high level. Flooding is a major threat down here, either side of 62. More hail out here west of Altus, drifting to the east, and a lot of big hail around Friendship, and there was a ton of high wind and a ton of big hail around Altus and Altus Air Force Base. Big Air Force Base down here in southwest Oklahoma. This part of Jackson County has just been hammered. Let's go back over to Corey Inman, talk about that funnel cloud way over there by Snyder. What's happening now, Corey?
Yeah, Mike, I'm still here at 183 and 62. I'm going to pan the camera here if you stay with the shot. You were talking about how supercells do crazy things. Like what I'm showing you now is a feeder band that is coming in from the east, and I'm going to pan the camera and that is just one large feeder band that's coming into the south end of the storm. And then we have the little notch right here due west of us. And as I continue to pan, you're going to see it's kind of bowed out to the north as well, up towards the Snyder area. So the rain and hail is starting to move in on us here at 183 and 62. So we're going to have to slide east. But just visually, structurally, this thing's incredible. Panning through there, haven't seen any funnels since that last funnel that we had there. It dissipated as it got north of 62, and haven't seen anything since then.
All right, appreciate that, Corey. Aaron Brackett here following this team coverage as we're watching severe thunderstorms in southwest Oklahoma. And, sticking with this, we saw some incredible high-level wind from Eric Dixon's stream earlier on. And, kind of throwing things back, when I was in Tucson for a couple of years doing weather down there, and there's Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. They call it the Boneyard. Maybe you've heard of it, and that's where they take retired airplanes, and they would put them there in the desert, and you get monsoon winds of 60, 65. That's about it, and it would actually cause some of the planes to jump up and down and become detached. So we're checking with Altus Air Force Base to see not only if we have hail damage, if we have some wind damage to all the airplanes and all the facilities down there, as well as the city as a whole. We've heard many reports of some power lines down in the Altus area off to the east of Altus, between Duke and Altus. That's where that long-lasting tornado kind of roped out over Highway 62. So now we continue following this. So we'll check back in with Corey and Eric Dixon in just a second. I want to show you the thunderstorms on links here as we continue with the severe thunderstorm warnings. No tornado warning right now. However, we are tracking on the eastern sides of this almost more of a QLCS type feature, which, these are supercells, or they're transitioning from supercells to more of a gust front on the leading edge. And we get these QLCS tornadoes sometimes, especially at night, when you get the low-level jet that causes little areas of spin. So what is that? We're going to kind of look at that here together as we go to a velocity, which tells us which way the winds are moving. And here's Snyder, here's Highway 62, here's Highway 183, north and south. And you see how, we'll actually stop this right now. So we're going to stop the animation. So this is velocity. Green is toward the radar, which is down here. Red is away. So you kind of see the change right there. And notice how where the winds come together, it's not just a straight up and down line. It kind of zigzags. And where it zags in, again, we have the winds coming like this, kind of coming around, and where they come around, sometimes you can form a quick tornado on the leading edge of that gust front. So kind of coming around like this, and the winds going away like that. So again, you can see where there might be a little area of spin right on top of 62 that is not too far away from the town of Snyder and, Mountain Park right along and just north of Highway 62. So again, the movement on that is basically due east right now along Highway 62. So again, that's the velocity right there for you, which shows us the movement happening inside the thunderstorm, inside the cloud. Lots of lightning with this, and it's not moving that fast. It really isn't. It's a pretty slow mover right along Highway 62 right now. So severe thunderstorm warning there, but in talking with the National Weather Service back and forth, they're really watching this area. In fact, you go to the last couple scans right there, it's not touching, the red and the green aren't touching, but it's kind of that shape that's a little bit more concerning of seeing, again, possibly a brief tornado. There's nothing imminently on the ground right now, but a brief tornado possible as this moves along Highway 62. So there we go. We'll go back to what we show you on a daily basis with rain, just regular radar. We call it reflectivity. It shows us how much rain and hail is going on. And this feature that we're looking at is at the very leading edge, the very eastern side of the storm. The heaviest of the hail is north of Hedrick, north of Highway 62. Blair, Martha, anywhere north of Altus. Things have calmed down substantially where the tornado was earlier between Victory, Duke, and Altus. There's really heavy hail happening right now. So a massive hail-producing storm. Let's go to Eric Dixon here, who was in some very, very serious winds as this thing rolled through. Eric, where are you at right now, and tell me what it's like out there.
It's kind of calmed down just a little bit here. I'm kind of right there in between, where the velocities change direction here. It'll be right there to the west side of Snyder there. We're kind of in that little bit of a notch that's kind of right there on the highway with the winds. I don't see any definition. I've got my a little bit of assistance there with turn it down to some low lux to try to get a little bit more light into that camera there. But I had a bit of a funnel back there towards the Hedrick area. Kind of it's the same one that Corey's seen, but I kind of seen it from the backside there as it quickly developed. I mean, that's how these QCLS type tornadoes can be. It's there 1 minute and the next minute it's gone. But the high velocity winds I had have gone away. I've kind of crossed the line. I've a little bit on the other side of that velocity skin, but I've noticed that the gusting out on the velocity has come down a little bit. So maybe this storm's trying to wind down, but it still bears watching. We're here with it. We'll keep you forewarned.
Eric, thank you very much. Let's go over to Max 1 here, and the possibility of one of those little QLCS or leading edge gust front tornadoes is there. Areas continue to evolve west of Snyder, so we're going to talk about that for a bit. Again, southwest Oklahoma, there's Gracemont, there's Anadarko, Chickasha's right here. So the metro's up that direction. These are going to slowly push to the east, and they'll very slowly weaken from a very high level. There are no tornado warnings as of right now, but high-end supercell severe thunderstorms continue in progress, and in particular, the area just to the west of Snyder along the gust front, the possibility of getting not only damaging winds in through here, but a leading edge type tornado. I'm going to show that to you here coming up. Still some baseballs with this, and some rain gauges now over 5 inches of rain. So flood warnings are in throughout this entire area, also from west of Altus to east of Altus, Altus Air Force Base, Friendship. We've called the Air Force Base, and we're having trouble reaching them. They're probably really kind of in damage control, both literally and figuratively down here at the Air Force Base, because this was a really high-end supercell, big-time high-end supercell. Not even to mention that 45-minute long multi-vortex very large tornado that came through rural Jackson County. So this area right here west of Snyder, we're going to talk to Corey Inman, getting awfully close to a little QLCS tornado right there on 62, just west of Snyder. Corey Inman is right there looking at it. Corey?
Yeah, Mike, we're just east of Snyder. Have the camera pointed back in that direction. We did have some interesting cloud features there. Had to pull over and take a look. Looked like we may have had a little lowering that tried to form there in that notch, but it's cycled out of there and went away. But we're scanning back in the Snyder area right now, not seeing any type of funnel cloud or power flashes or anything like that. So just a tremendous amount of lightning back in there, as you can see by the shot. But right now we're right here in front of that little notch, just to the east of Snyder. There you can kind of see, if you look over the mountains, you can kind of see a little bit of a flat base there right in the notch. So if anything's going to happen, it's going to be right there in that area, and just not seeing it right now, Mike.
Okay, back over to radar here. See, folks in Snyder, stay away from windows. Stay away from windows in through here, because this is some high velocity wind coming out. No doubt you've heard all about the 100-mile-an-hour winds over here in Jackson County. So stay away from windows, and there could be some pretty high velocity winds coming down 62. The bright green is weakened some, but still easily could be 60 to 75 miles per hour, still close to hurricane force winds. And there's that little area right there. It hasn't quite folded over on itself, just to the west of Snyder. There's Snyder, there's the business loop right there. This is 62 right here, and we're talking about on the western sides of Snyder. So there's a severe thunderstorm warning in through here. Damaging straight line of winds could be 75 miles per hour. The green is coming toward Snyder, and the red is moving away. So this is going this direction, and the green is coming out of the northwest. So that's a much colder wind. It's near 60 in Altus right now, so it's very cold. And these high velocity winds back in through here have weakened some, but they're still 60 to 75 miles per hour. So no tornado warning. These are all severe thunderstorm warnings. Got to watch that possibility of that leading edge, what we call QLCS tornado. And right in that area is the hot spot. Let's go back to Corey and just kind of double check on that real fast. Corey, again, right there on 62.
Yeah, Mike, we're on 62, just on the east side of Snyder, just kind of panning through here. Just, a couple of interesting cloud formations like I was talking about, but haven't seen a funnel since back there at 62 and 183. This is looking right back into the Snyder area as we pan through here and not making anything out. There's the kind of the lowered area, probably just on top of or just to the north of Snyder right now. It's just back to our northwest here. So right now, no funnel, nothing on the ground right there on that leading edge notch, Mike.
Okay, let's go over to Lynx 1, look at the lightning rates. They're coming down ever so slowly, but they're still at a very high level. Lots and lots, as you saw right there from Corey's stream, in cloud, cloud to cloud, and cloud to ground lightning. Still very, very intense. So 2 big supercells back here. Check this still frame out from Corey Inman during our live coverage a short while ago. This lightning strike right there in the immediate foreground from where he was down there in the Altus area. Pretty impressive stuff. The lightning electrical activity has been just high end down here in southwest Oklahoma. Let's go back over to radar and take a look at the activity moving slowly to the east over to Max 1. And still a chance of some damaging wind for sure, and maybe potentially some type of leading edge gust front tornado QLCS, but it hasn't really pushed over the edge in that regard, and that's good news. The twisting of the wind not really showing up. It's more of a straight line wind showing that green color right there, and not the twisting of the wind. So damaging winds by far the main threat. Finally, it's starting to pick up. Pretty soon, the storm will finally finish coming through Altus, but there are quite a few rain gauges that are 5-inch plus down here in southwest Oklahoma, and Eric Dixon had winds to about 100 earlier near Altus on 62. Let's check with Eric right now. Eric, are you doing okay down there?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's that's quite a ride there. You know, in that 100-mile-an-hour winds, my truck was definitely rocking back and forth. So I was on the shoulder there, so I kind of I turned my truck kind of back into the wind. I kind of 45-degreed it back towards the north and kind of stuck the nose of my truck a little bit into the wind as best I could. You know, I wanted to give the wind less surface area on my truck because, you know, that it's possible winds like that can, you know, flip vehicles, especially high-profile vehicles. I wouldn't be surprised if there might have been some semis and trailers that got flipped. You know, if they were in that area, they easily could have got flipped over. I mean, that was 100-mile-an-hour winds easily, if not more, in some instances. But you know, I seen that funnel that Corey had back there. You know, towards Hedrick, towards Snyder area. It formed just like that. You know, we both kind of was on both sides of it there. But you know, that's how these gust type tornadoes, the QCLS, kind of works. You know, they're not there, and a minute later they're there, and then your roof's gone. And you know, we got to watch those really close. But we're tracking east with it here, and hopefully we get the storm to wind down. But yes, I'm okay out here, and we'll keep you forewarned.
Very good, Eric. We'll check back with you. Let's go to Kevin Ogle at the news desk with a report on Jackson County. Kev?
You're right, Mike. I just talked to the sheriff's department down there in Jackson County. Now, the problem they're having, besides all of the storms, is the storm itself. They're still kind of caught in the eye of the storm, they're telling me, and so it's kind of keeping them from going out and checking all the areas of the county. They do know they've had 4 or 5 homes damaged, got electric lines down, and because of that, they do want folks to stay in. Don't go out and try to rubberneck some of the damage you've heard about. They really want you to stay in and be safe, because as the sheriff told me, they're still getting a lot of weather down there. So they haven't had a chance to go out and check everything right now, but they're going to call us back when they do get that opportunity, and we'll let you know what has happened in Jackson County. Also, we have requests for information from the Altus Air Force Base, which you know is down there. They have a lot of big planes there. And so we're trying to gather all this information for you as the Forewarned Storm Team keeps you forewarned about the weather. We're trying to check on the damage and the conditions in the area, and we will continue to. Now, let's go back over to Aaron Brackett. Aaron.
Yeah, Kevin, I know that sometimes when we have big weather events that are scheduled, places like Altus Air Force Base, Vance, Tinker, they have literally moved planes to Davis-Monthan and Tucson, because that typically is an area that doesn't get as much severe weather. I lived in Tucson for 2 years, and I know even a monsoon storm with 70, 75 mile per hour wind can lift up the airplanes that are on the ground at that boneyard out there. So we have to think and, investigate, which we're doing right now. Our news department is working diligently, what happened at Altus Air Force Base, even if not for the wind. Eric Dixon was talking 80, 90 mile per hour plus winds. It's the hail that was incredibly large. So we want to let you know here, Oklahoma City Metro, northern Oklahoma, west central Oklahoma, where there were storms earlier, things have really calmed down. Let's go to Corey Inman, though, Highway 62, watching, well, it looks like a pretty big lowering. Corey, what's going on?
Yeah, Aaron, I'm east of Snyder on 62. We've had another lowering that's formed right over 62. You'll be able to see it as it gets backlit by the lightning there, right over the top of that mountain. ragged bowl lowering. That's going to be just on the south side of 62. North end of it's going to be right on top of 62. So that thing looks ragged, and there's a couple of fingers hanging down there. My chase partner's out of the truck looking back there, and he said there's two of them. So this is right there on that notch, right over 62. Should be coming just over Snyder, maybe just to the east of Snyder, Aaron.
Okay, we're watching right there. There's, the Highway 62, if you traveled it between roughly Lawton, several miles west of Lawton, and then over toward just shy of Altus, you get these little, I guess we call them Oklahoma foothills right there. And at the top of the foothill on the left-hand side of your screen, you see with the intermittent lightning flashes that lowering. So you can kind of see it again right here, the 62 main highway. Look right about there. We're going to wait till lightning flashes. You see that flat, just kind of bottom right there, the base of the cloud where we have air moving up into it. We'll get to radar in a second. Corey, wow, look at that lightning strike. Corey, let's go back to you. Has that changed at all in the last minute or so?
Yeah, it's constantly changing shape, Aaron. Just kind of continues to cycle as it slides east, and that's it's right over and just to the south of 62. It's kind of hard. We've got the lightning backlighting it, but we've also got the line of chasers that are coming out of Altus. It's kind of obstructing us here to get the good view with the lightning. But it continues to change shapes and evolve as it slides east right down 62.
Yeah, Corey, we see the notch on radar right now on links. We can actually see that inflow notch where we have, possibly that circulation trying to wrap up. Certainly the low wall cloud that you're showing us right there as we look at the left-hand side of your screen. So that's the little notch, and we can actually see the air coming into it. So still that southeasterly wind that's coming into it. And actually, I'm going to stop this here for a second. We're going to kind of draw along together here. And what might be, it's kind of tough to see, but what might be some sort of a little inflow tail, this little green right here, that might be wind kind of coming into it right there. That's present kind of wrapping up into this thing. And Corey, tell me what your winds are right there. You can kind of see again, here's the little kind of the inflow tail, so that's wind moving into it. This is rain-cooled air right here in hail over Snyder, and then that's wrapping down on the backside. This is all hail right here, all lots of hail. Highway 62, so this is north of it, and then we have that air kind of rushing in on the bottom side. Corey, what's your wind like where you're at right now?
Yeah, as you can tell by the shot there, Aaron, the camera is pointed back to the west. I'm actually facing east, and the rain is being blown. The anvil debris out in front of it is actually being blown back to the west. I've got an east wind at probably 10 to 15 miles an hour right here that's blowing right into that area where we had the lowering. Looks like maybe it's kind of trying to blow out right now and maybe go through another cycling phase. Notice velocities right there in that area kind of starting to tick up and maybe notch just a little bit, but visually it looks like the lowering is trying to blow out and maybe recycle here.
Okay, we see that for you. We see that right back here on radar too, seeing the same thing. So, intermittent lowering wall clouds. It doesn't look quite as low as it did just a little bit ago, starting to get in the rain right here. But again, it's kind of that little notch that we're watching here from Corey's stream as he's right on Highway 62. There's the lightning trying to, illuminate that up with the night vision camera. So again, the notch doesn't look quite as impressive as it did. We're going to go ahead and kind of circle this area so we can remember this is where the inflow is as we go ahead and change to our velocity. Velocity tells us which way things are moving, the rain, all that stuff. There's not totally that much there lining up with this same area, but sometimes you get your inflow starting into the storm before it actually wraps up. So again, this could be coming into it, kind of feeding into the upper level circulation that you see right there. So that's kind of the spot that Corey's watching, but again, kind of right over Snyder. There's the inflow. Here's winds a little bit higher up in the storm. You can see them kind of moving in that counterclockwise spin. So kind of two areas to watch here, south and east of Snyder, and then basically right over Snyder as this continues very slowly off to the east. So there's the rotation, or there's the movement on it. We'll take off the telestration. So there's the movement. You can see it kind of wrapping up right there, moving again, as it has been most of the night, right along Highway 62 near Hollis and Duke.